Oh, man. So much stuff going on this week. Hey, what's up, gang? It's Mishka. Thanks for tuning in. By the time you are hearing this podcast, Derek Sheen will have arrived from Seattle, Washington. And he and I are going to be doing a string of shows here. We're going to be up at Blackbridge Brewery in Kingman, Arizona on Thursday the 17th. On November 18th, Friday, we're at my house in my side yard in lovely Phoenix, Arizona. The 19th, we're going to be at Catalina Craft Pizza in Tucson. And then the 20th will be at my road HQ, the Quarry in Bisbee, Arizona, with Christine Levine. The incredible. And then I have a shitload of road shows coming up. The Fort Collins, Colorado. I'm doing a whole run with my buddy Rad Pinkard. Omaha, Lincoln, Kansas City. Another show in Lincoln. The Chicago, Indianapolis, Columbus. All kinds of good shit. I'm pooped today. If it sounds like I'm a little low energy, I went out to do 3 miles with the dog and missed my turn and had to do 5 miles instead. And I'm getting old and fragile, and it tuckered me out. But and I have a ton of prep to do. Picking up Derek tomorrow. Try to get my car ready for the road. Try and get the house ready for guests this Friday, and basically sort of getting ready to shut my place down. For the winter, because I'll be gone for a month and a half. Also, if you missed the last episode, it turns out my teeth are just crumbling into the ocean like sandcastles made by an innocent child. I'm looking at I think they quoted me $13.68 to get my teeth fixed. So I am going to be selling a bunch of guitars. I just blew out the last of my my LC Motorhead shirts. If you have ever lusted for anything that I own, now is the time to hit me up for a discount price on it. Got to raise that money. The podcast today, God, I don't know how I lured Derek Sheen to come down here. I tricked him into doing the podcast. I tricked him into performing at my house, and I tricked him into doing a whole little run with me. I am wildly envious of his skills on stage. He just flows seamlessly from grief to hilarity. It's no secret that a lot of comedy comes out of trauma and grief and loss. I don't know no one who moves as smoothly from the down arrow to the up arrow like Derek Sheen does. He really is just wildly gifted. One of those talents that I find both energizing and depressing, because when I look at his work, I'm like, man, I still have so much further to go in my own work. And also, I will never fucking get there. He is so good. This podcast was great. We just dropped into it immediately, and it got real deep and real dark and real funny real fast. I'm really proud of this one. Really, it's weird because it's sort of the closing in on a year of doing these podcasts, and I'm starting to wonder, like, is it worth it keeping it going? The make no money, small listenership, and then I have conversations like this, which is exactly what I want to do. Anyway, I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you're listening. If you have an extra buck to spare, please head over to patreon.com/Mishka Shabali. Sign up to help the podcast for less than the cup of coffee a month. And I'll send you a free Thigh Master. No, I won't. I'm not sending you anything. I do have stickers. I have stickers of my cat. Buy some merch. I'll send you some stickers if I remember to throw them in. Or the wrong size. They're awfully dainty, but so is my cat. Anyway, thank you for being here. Thanks for listening. Please enjoy this conversation with Derek Sheen.
Mishka Shabali is catching up with friends who are arguably more talented than him.
Derek, how are you, man?
I'm great. How are you, Mitchka? Good to see you.
I'm good. This week was a lot, and I was just thinking about you in the shower, and
I'll take it where I can.
Just looking forward to this and feel a lot of relief. Daddy took his 4 ibuprofen and sliding into the weekend like it's fucking Mardi Gras.
My bag was going to consist of like a few shirts, some underwear, socks, 2 things of Advil, ibuprofen, Tylenol, anti-anxiety medication, allopurinol.
Dude, I plunge for my Advil in the morning the same way I used to just clutch at a fucking Miller High Life or a Coors Light.
My staples are far different now. Like I was a drug and alcohol person for so long, and now I'm just like I'm a prescription drug person. But yeah, I'm like, oh, everything's changed. I get up in the morning, I have allopurinol for my gout, and then I got to take an anti-anxiety medication in case I get gout or
fear of gout. The Derek Sheen story.
Brain is full of holes.
It's so weird, the drugs that we used to do and then the drugs we do now. Where you're like, oh, if I fucking huff this dust cleaner, will I feel weird? And then now you're like, doctor, if I take this, will I feel normal?
I was telling my doctor that like the drugs I used to take, I took to escape from reality. And now I take drugs because I'm scared of not being in reality. And I'm like, please give me something so I don't lose control.
I take more drugs now than I've ever taken in my life. And it's just like the gabapentin so I can keep running, trazodone and Ambien so I can go to sleep, trazodone so I can stay asleep. I'm 45. I'm still a relatively young man. My mother is 75. What's going to happen to me, man? Does it just keep going? Do we just keep taking more and more supplements? I'm
52, and all I can tell you is that 7 years later it gets worse. Like it just life and things don't come back, like they don't spring back like they used to. Or if something gets broken, it just kind of stays broken. And also you realize that after 50, all your friends start dying and all you have is like logo T-shirts. So you don't really have any way to oh shit, I have to dress up. Oh God.
When I went to Lanigan's funeral this year, I didn't have a suit. And I was like, nobody I love can die because I can't grieve you in an honorable fashion. I didn't even have black jeans. And I was like, I went and bought black jeans, which were of course instantly covered with cat hair. And then I was and then I had like, I think at the time I owned like 4 cars, none of which were working. So I had to borrow my mom's like Toyota Corolla to drive to LA to go to that. And then when I got there, it was all people in black jeans covered in cat hair. And I was like, oh, it's fine. It's fine. The grief comes in many shapes and they're all covered in cat hair.
The thing is, we're all the same age. So we're all in the same place. As much as we like to think like, man, I'm an outsider. I don't have the things I need. My life isn't going the way I need it to be. And then when you get in a group of people our age, they're all like, oh fuck, I don't have the things I need. My life isn't going the way I expected. And then it's kind of nice and normal. Like Gen X, we are free floating. We're non-homogenized, non-centered generation of people who just are like, whatever. I mean, that's our whole thing, is just whatever. Like I raised myself. My dad threw me house keys and was like, learn to cook. Your mom and I are going to an orgy. Like that's what we did. And we watched TV. Like, people our age get upset at younger people. I don't, but I mean, we have this benefit of like nostalgia because we were raised with our parents' nostalgia. Like our parents' TV is what raised us because all we had were reruns of the shit that raised them. We had all the stuff from the 50s and 60s, and that's what we watched, and we ingested it, and that's how we learned how to interact with people because we didn't have social studies, we didn't have social skills, we didn't have parents that like put us in. They were all busy trying to make their nut for the month. And now, like, I look at people younger than me, and you go like, yeah, Lucille Ball, and they're like, who the fuck is that? And you're like, well, it's Lucille Ball, but we expect them to know things they shouldn't. There's no reason our generation should have known who the fuck CPO Sharkey was. Nobody should have known who that was. We shouldn't. A generation should be gone from Welcome Back, Kotter. They shouldn't know reruns or Barney Miller. People don't know a sub-reference. I'm thankful. I'm like, oh, that means you actually had a life. You're a young person who's read a book and gone out and kissed a person and tried things.
I have so many responses to this. One of the things I've been like thinking, like mulling over my head, I feel like for the last 10 years is this outsider fantasy, but how we all imagine, every single person imagines themselves to be an outsider, to be a misfit, to not belong. And I know when I was a kid, like we would play all these games of, and it always involved being an orphan. And a staple of like boys fiction is that your parents are killed. The Batman, fucking Peter Pan is an orphan, all those, it's like sort of all those archetypal stories that the mom and dad get the fucking axe in the first act. But I also want to respond to what you said about young people too, is because like, dude, the fucking midterm election results are rolling in and they saved our fucking asses.
Yep. Again,
Gen
Z.
We love, and I will continue to shit on younger people. We love doing it. It feels so good. I love doing it. I remember being mocked in 1992 for having whatever's cool with me Dinosaur Jr. t-shirt and not the Little Furry Things t-shirt. Because, I was like a poser or something. And now all those kids see that same shirt. And they're like, man, you're such a cool old guy. But I will continue to shit on them. But man, they saved our fucking asses in this election cycle.
It's generational. I don't know a generation that doesn't get old, that doesn't shit down on younger people. And it's also because we're afraid, because change terrifies us. And the only thing that we have to cling to is the past, because that's what defines us. And young people are constantly changing that. And then we say things like, your music is stupid and I don't get it and you don't make any sense and your words are weird. But then I have to remember, like, when we were coming up, we confounded the fuck out of adults. And they were baby boomers, counterculture revolutionaries who then, bought into the whole like capitalist thing. And they shit on us, although you're never going to amount to anything. You want to be in the arts? What kind of fucking ridiculous lifestyle you're going to have? I worked really hard as a union stevedore to afford you this art class, and I'll be goddamned if you're going to make a living off of it. And that they did the same thing we did. My grandfather, I don't get your music. It sounds like, a bunch of clocks running at the same time, and I don't get like, but like I'm in awe of Gen Z and millennials, because I feel like they are doing all the work that Generation X, it's not that we were lazy. It's that we weren't fucking motivated by anybody to change anything, because there was no reward-based meritocracy for us. We constantly just got put upon, not by getting insulted, but like just our families, our parents, our schools just fucking expected us to take care of ourselves. There was 15, 20 good years there where we're all just raising ourselves, because all those boomers, which were our parents, they were like, we want a better life than our parents. And they had money. They bought everything. They fucked everything up. They did a ton of coke. They invested in the stock market. They blew our goddamn, our future and our savings. How many people our age are going to inherit anything?
Yeah.
Right. Because our parents just fucking pissed it away. They did dumb shit with it. They bought a ton of stuff they couldn't pay for. They couldn't make their credit card payments. They spent all their parents' money before they even died. And now we have to I mean, I get it. And I see like young people trying to go like, all right, well, we're not ever going to be able to buy a house. I can't afford a car. I have Uber. I have Lyft. I'll just fucking go where I need to. I have a credit card. I'll pay that every month with my, with what little money I make because I'm still working for $15 an hour. But I still feel like everyone should be included. And they just bring people into the middle, all the time, and that, which is good. But I think they're going to save us from climate change, and they're going to save us. Well, we're still going to have a huge eco collapse, but I think it's going to be young people that survive that and fix things. Hopefully, well, most of the old people will be dead. We'll get airborne cancer, and then they'll be like, "We found a mask for that."
I love that we're like 6 minutes into the podcast and you're already like, we're all going to die in a hot flood.
I truly believe that we are on the verge of like a massive migratory eco collapse, but that young people will be the ones that survive it because they will be like, well, I have a YouTube tutorial on how to make survival stuff and guns aren't going to be necessary. It's going to be like, how do we make food? How do we grow things? How do we recycle?
It's funny because I sort of reject a lot of the generational stuff out of hand of, to try to make sweeping generalizations over an entire genre of human beings, to say that people born between this, this year and this year are like this. Because a lot of times to me that feels like a cop out, or maybe it's just that the people I've spoken to about it always use their generation as an excuse for why they can't do a thing or won't do a thing. But you do make a compelling argument. I remember talking to like my nephew and my nieces about high school and and I was like going to teach him how to fight, because like if you get picked on, you got to be able to fight back and stuff. And they like looked at me and they were like, no, like the cool kids are the nice people. And I was like, are you fucking kidding me? It's just like you've upended our like social capitalism that we've been reinforcing of like the fucking jocks versus nerds. That's like that's pre-written history, the
last Gen Xer that dies, they will erect a headstone somewhere like a central monument to patriarchy. And that'll be like, when the last one of us is dead, they'll be like, that is it. We did it. Patriarchy's over. Now everyone just on the same wavelength. And I think that I don't think it's because they're progressive. I think it's because they've been born into an impossible situation. And so a lot of younger people are just, I think, genetically predisposed to try and survive as opposed to thriving. Which like our generation was born into this thing where it was like, you can be anything you want. And, money's no object. And then our parents were like, wow, cocaine's fun. And then there was no money and everything dried up. And that whole economy, that boomer economy just sort of ate itself. And then our kids, or millennial kids, the kids that millennials had are born into this situation. It's almost untenable. Like you just can't survive alone. You can't live alone. You can't survive on wages alone. And so it creates a groupthink, I think, where people are, it's the gig economy, right? People going into Kickstarter and GoFundMe to pay their medical bills because that's the society they're creating. And Republicans like to call it socialism, but it's just survivalism. It's survival. Like we all have to pitch in or otherwise we're all going to collapse. And guys like you and me are we're like buying vinyl,
which is one of the most toxic things you can do, right? That they're making more vinyl. It's just like setting fire to the rainforest.
Yeah.
And like they're like making corks in factories that just fit perfectly in dolphins' blowholes.
I literally do shit like I throw food in my recycling, in my plastic recycling, because I don't care. And then I'm like, ooh, Paul's Boutique reissue. I should just buy this. It's a double album. I'll just go put that on my turntable.
Oh God. Yeah. Oh my God. I feel like we have so much shit to talk about. We're not going to get through any of it, but
such a yacker. I'm so sorry.
No, I love it. I just did a podcast with Leslie Jameson, who, if you haven't read her, she's one of the finest writers working today. And also we dated. And so having a, literary celebrity on the podcast who is also your ex-girlfriend, that is a fucking high wire act. And I was just like sitting here like, I have impaled myself on a skewer of my own anxiety, and I will twist for the next hour and 15 minutes. So Derek, we can talk about whatever the fuck you want to.
Coffee just came out of up my sinuses. I can imagine that. Also, I my own insecurity, I was like, oh, dating an author. Like, oh man, that would be terrifying for me, because I am probably the dumbest person I've ever met, and I would literally make someone stupider in my vicinity over time.
It's really, it's like a biblical curse. I mean, think about your favorite artist and what you love about them, and it's their perspective, their vision, the insight with which they perceive things about humanity that are hidden. Right now, imagine that laser focus turned on you and your own shortcomings, your failures, your bad moments, and then it will all be on the page for everyone to read forever. And it's a fucking horror show, man.
I'll be honest, I might be in a good place because I am so neurotic about that stuff that my stand-up is just getting ahead of it all the time. Like, I am constantly, I will announce to people I didn't even meet, like, I'm a fuck up. I'm insecure, and I'll say something that's really uncomfortable because I don't know how to deal with being in the room and making eye contact with people. So I'm nervous, and I'll probably say something that alienates you. And I've done really bad things, and I've even been racist for a few minutes. So, and then it's setting out the welcome mat. Now what can go wrong?
The thing is, it's a question of perspective, because you and I could walk into a room full of strangers and be like, man, I got really fat in 2021. Conversely, if somebody turns to you and says, man, you got really fat in 2021, fucking hurts. Even if you said the exact same thing about yourself. And so that's
very true.
It's like, I can speak truth about myself, but to have another person do it, a person who I care about tremendously and who is just far more articulate than I will ever be, it feels like having them do the autopsy while you're still alive.
Yeah. That's a different,
like,
that hurts.
Man, that's still connected. So yeah, I'm just sort of coming out of that, just doing a little emotional barrel roll.
Because people don't understand the difference between genuine honesty and brutal honesty. Those are two different things. And my wife used to say, like, it's the difference between saying like that does that dress make me look fat? And someone saying, oh, it's not the dress. She's like, that's brutal honesty. Like, you don't have to be there. You could always pull back and be like, the time has definitely changed you a little bit. Oh, and
it's still honesty. You just rolled the volume back a little bit.
Right.
Rolled the tone off.
That's it.
The cartoonist and writer Tim Kreider has this brilliant cartoon of a woman coming home from her day at the office, and her husband's there, and she's like, how was your day, honey? And and then they both stop and think, and she's like, I thought about getting gangbanged by all the dudes in the office, and he's like, I jerked off 4 times thinking about you as when you were 14. And then they're both like, fine, my day was fine. And that's the level of honesty I want from a partner, is to just lie to me in a convincing manner, or just airbrush it. The Instagram filters, I think it's great.
I think the best relationships are when you operate with the same level of honesty you would in inner office politics. Like, at that point, when you're around the water cooler, it's how was your day? It was great. And I'm never going to get too honest with someone that I work with. I'm always just going to keep it level because we got to work together. You know,
like
we have to live together. I'm not going to give you all this stuff. I got to live with you. You know, I'll save that for my friends.
Some pleasantries, a little bit of, a laugh here and there, a little chuckle. You catch the game last night. People who fetishize honesty, that you don't know what you're fucking with. We already have more than enough honesty in this world. Just lie to me in a nice soft.
I'm hard enough on myself. I don't need anybody to help out. That's definitely a rule for me. Is I will clearly I will announce all of my faults accurately and genuinely to everyone. Let me do that. Let me do that part because I'm super good at it. If someone else does it, it's fucking devastating because I'm like, first off, I'm mad that you have better timing than me, and then you're taking my job away from me. This is my job is self-deprecation and hatred. So.
The interesting thing, though, is that you and I are creators, right? So we witness the thing and then we make stories or jokes or songs or whatever about it. And then when you become the muse to another artist, it's like suddenly you're standing naked in a room with fluorescent lights surrounding you, and there's sort of like the camera in slow motion, 4K HD scrolling around your entire naked body, and
I could taste it.
It's just like, what are those skin tags? Do I have eczema now? That it never itched. Like, what is that? What's going on down there? I didn't see that. Like, it's unfair that somebody else can see that. I wasn't able to mock that about my own body.
I'm getting in I'm the guy that gets in the pool with a t-shirt. I'm just that like. And people are like, well, you're going to weigh yourself down. I'm not in this for exercise. I'm in this to cool off, and you don't need to see anything. You don't need to. I respect your privacy and your ability to imagine what this looks like after. That's up to you. But even at home, my wife is a very raised around hippies, right? And they were all fucking walking around the house naked all the time. When I started dating, her dad would just walk out with not even a towel on, morning, making coffee. And I'm like, I wasn't made that
move.
Way. Yeah, I'm not made that way. I was raised by abused, just children of trauma who constantly were guarded. My mom wore 3 house coats all the time. Doors got locked when people went to the bathroom. The doors got locked.
Thick with shame.
Oh, yeah. My grandmother, I had to tell my wife that early, I had to retrain myself at some point in my life. This is hard to explain to her because I was like, I had to train myself how to take care of myself because my grandmother, who was taxed with wiping me as an infant, was so absolutely, she was a germaphobe with a rage problem. So she didn't want to deal with it. So she would just take an entire roll of toilet paper and just until the skin came off of me, would just make sure that I'm absolutely clean. And this is how I learned to wipe myself. Because I was like, well, that's natural, right? You just go until it starts to bleed. And then you're like, okay, everything's gone. That's the mentality I grew up with. Locked doors, people wouldn't let you in the bathroom to shower for an hour. And I grew up like that. And then I'm around these hippies, dick out, her mom's vag is just coming out. I'm like, my eyes are bleeding and everyone's fucking cool with it. I walk by, someone's just sitting on the shitter. Hey, Derek, what the fuck? And it took me years. My wife, I still have the bathroom door closed. I have this privacy thing, which is all shame, but trying to overcome that, in your late 40s, early 50s, where you're just like, okay, I got to stop. I got to reverse course. But it's taken her an incredible amount of time to get used to all the weird, I don't get naked around my wife unless it's St. Patrick's
an emergency.
Day. Yeah, St. Patrick's Day.
Having pets has been really helpful for me with the bathroom thing, because if I close the bathroom door, my cat and my dog think something is amiss. And today I had the bathroom door open while I was taking a shit, which is what I a luxury I afford myself. And my dog walked in, gave me a look like, "What's wrong with you, dude?" and turned and walked out. I pick up your feces every day. I have an intimate relationship with everything that comes out of your asshole. For you to walk into my secret bunker in my castle, in my lair, and then just without a word, just shame me.
My cat will push the door open and then turn around and walk right back out. And it's been happening for years. Just push the door open and then go, "Oh, yeah, no." And then just turn around and walk out and leave the door open. Just leave the door open, which I also think was part of his thing. Like, well, I'm just, you know what? You deal with it. You need to get over this, Sheen.
Derek, I'm sweating from so there's everybody has their sort of canonical texts in their life, things that if it wasn't for Merle Haggard, I wouldn't be who I am today, or whatever, or the Spice Girls, or whatever the fuck it is. And for me, it's one episode of Mork and Mindy, which was the first part of a two-parter. And in it, Mork is suffering from a cold. So he has nasal congestion. So Mindy helpfully gives him a nasal decongestant. And then at some point they discover that Mork used to be taller than her, and then now he's shorter than her. And then he's shrinking, and she's like, "Mork, you're shrinking." And he was like, "I know what did you give me?" And she said, "Well, then I give you that nasal decongestant. It's going to diminish the swelling inside of your nose." And he's like, "Orchians are made of the swelling inside of their nose." And in the final moments of the part one of a two-part thing, Mork shrinks so small that he disappears. And I've never seen the second part of that, but it's haunted. It's become one of the central metaphors in my life for understanding myself. And that is that, people are like, "Oh, you need to sort of get over your shame." And I'm like, I'm made of shame. If I get rid of my shame, I will disappear. It's what gets me up in the morning, and what puts me to bed at night.
Oh, that is incredibly relatable. I mean, growing up in a household full of, everyone that I grew up with was abused.
Yeah.
My dad, my stepdad, my mom, everyone just had traumatic abuse because they're, everybody's parents, boomers' parents were terrible. Yeah. And then boomers were terrible parents because they had shitty parents. And then we carry that like an heirloom from generation to generation. But like the shame in our household at all times, unless someone was lashing out in anger or violence, and then it was all bets are off. Nobody was ashamed about that, showing their true colors. But man, I mean, I don't know what I would do without that. I think it's become, I mean, for me, even as a kid, my ability to have a relationship with my fear and my shame, so much so that I had more confidence in that than in anything else, probably saved my ass a lot in school because people didn't want to beat the shit out of me. Like they didn't, even bullies that approached me once they got within earshot and realized like, "Oh, I can't hurt you as much as you're going to hurt yourself."
Yep.
I mean, I had bullies that became friends of mine because they were like, they felt bad for me. Like I was going to beat the shit out of you because you have a punchable face. And then I realized, oh my God, that's because people punch you in the face all the time. Get over here, little fella.
Wow.
And so I had bullies that were my friends because that was, and I would tell people ahead of time, like, there's nothing you can do to me that's going to be any worse than what happens at home. So let me save you the trouble. I know I'm a fucking idiot. I'm going to say dumb shit. I have a stupid face. I'm really small. I'm probably easy to punch, but it isn't going to do any damage. And I'm not going to be scared of you because tomorrow I'm going to get up and I still have to be me. There's nothing you can do that's going to change that. Unless you can punch me taller or better looking, All it's going to do, I won't even resent you. I will totally understand why you beat the shit out of me. It would just disarm people. And I think without that, I don't know what I would do without that. And maybe it's not healthy, but I don't know what I would have done without having some kind of like, for me, that was a net gain growing up, because I think it gave me something a lot of people didn't have in their toolbox, which was the ability to recognize, my faults and play to them as a strength. And I don't think a lot of people have that. You can, like my grandfather used to say, that you could just destroy a person by laughing at their dick. You can just destroy a person. He would tell me all the time. I saw guys in the military, after in the shower, and a guy would point at their dick and laugh about how small it is, and the other guys would point at it, and that guy would go blow his brains out like a month later, And he's like, so having some, although it's probably every psychiatrist would say that's the least healthy thing, but I think in a way, I think we learn as comics and writers that those are our strengths, because it's something that most people don't have. It's not tenable to people, they can't grab onto that. They don't understand it. And so they live vicariously through us, because, we all have shame, but I think it's manageable compared with most people.
Derek, I have to tell you, I don't know you very well, but I think tremendously highly of you as an artist and a human being. And it's incredibly hard to hear you tell a story like that that's rooted in so much childhood pain and suffering. And I have to tell you that you have a beautiful face, and I love you, and I think you're a fucking awesome guy.
Thanks, man. Thank you.
I don't know, it's weird, like that was a whole fucking, so grateful when you reach for your coffee cup, because that was a whole fucking mental journey you just took me on right there.
I'm so sorry.
No. Because and this is one of the reasons why I'm a fan of yours, and why people are fans of yours, is that the hurt kid, the super smart hurt kid who's sort of intellectualizing, like, how do I get my way out of this? How do I protect myself? How do I make them not destroy me? How do I survive this? That kid is still so accessible in you the moment you step on stage, the moment you pick up a microphone.
Oh yeah.
And that's why people respond the way they do to your work. It's fucking magic what you do, man.
I think I've only grown up, but I haven't grown away. And I still have total access to that, because it always feels like it's what defined me as and made me into the person I am. So I'm not very far removed from it at all times, which can be a little scary, because I haven't forgotten anything. That's the one shitty thing about getting old, is I haven't forgotten the things I wish I could. So, I can still wake up in the morning and go, fuck, I can't believe I did what I said to that kid in 6th grade was so shitty. And I should probably look him up, but almost everybody's probably dead now. So, but I think I definitely had to fend for myself. I think a lot of people in our generation really did. Like, my dad didn't know how to handle his rage or his booze, but I would somehow, I don't know how I got gifted with this. Maybe it was my mom, but she didn't have great radar either. But anytime that someone, especially my dad, was violent with me, I would just, my reconciliation would be to sit by myself and go, all I know is I'm not going to be like that. I'm going to do everything in my power to not let that affect me, because I know that it could fuck me up. Even as a kid, I would tell myself that, like, I know I could easily hold on to that, and I could use that to be shitty to other people. And I'm going to make goddamn sure that I don't grow up like that. I'm going to make my dad so fucking upset that it didn't affect me. That was my and my mom used to tell me that, the best revenge is never letting people see how how it affects you. Like, she was like, your dad, you can be mad at your stepfather as long as you want, but he's probably somewhere right now eating a steak, and he's completely has not thought of you in years. And if you want to carry that around, that's on you now, you know?
Yeah.
So how you choose to live your life, even how people treat you, you have to take that, their violence or their trauma and just go, okay, well, how do I not be that person? How do I just live better than that? And that was weird to grow up as a kid thinking like that, because it seemed pretty fucking mature.
That is very advanced. It's taken me a shitload of therapy. I was going to a shitload of therapy to get there. No, I'm not there. It's taken me a shitload of therapy to be able to glimpse it, to be able to hear what you're saying and be like, well, I guess that has some merits, but there's also always murder. You know,
that's still there too. That's always also there. That's still there as well. I think they cohabitate, but it didn't ruin me like my mom. You know, my mom's abuse, as much as she would tell me that stuff, it ate her alive. You know, I think it's really what killed her over, you know, and killed her slowly as she let that stuff eat her alive. And anytime we had a conversation, she would always have to go back to that in the past and go, I can't believe I let your father do that. I can't believe. And I'm like, hey man, we're 30 years removed from this. You know, you got to move on. I don't want to hear about it anymore, because I only use that stuff so that I can remind myself why I'm growing forward. Yeah. You know,
so I got into this a little bit, sort of with my family lately, where we've been dealing. My mom has not cancer. She has a thing in her throat that she needs to get removed, which isn't cancer, which that's fantastic, but she's still facing a 4 to 5 hour surgery and then recovery that may involve a feeding tube. There's definitely some scary things that, and then my dad definitely has cancer. He has cancer in one of his kidneys, and he's having it taken out. And we've sort of been trying to sort out how bad we're supposed to feel for him, or how much is appropriate, and how much we're allowed to withhold, you know. And I was thinking about this, for, you know, the phrase, like, you know, sort of forgive and forget, because I don't know, man. I feel like forgiveness is for fucking student loans, and that's it. And the rest of it is just we need a different version of forgiveness where you evict the other person from your head for your own sanity and survival. And then forgetting, you know, the forgive and forget is not that you welcome them back into your life, but that you do the real life equivalent of erasing their number from your phone. You know, that they cease to exist for you.
I think it's incredibly healthy to, I always thought forgiveness in that aspect was kind of a cop out. I always thought that was what people did to try and make themselves feel better or put them above. Well, I forgive you. I forgive you for your trespasses against me. It seems like such a fucking cocksure, not really forgiving thing to say. I'm much more of a fan of ignoring completely.
Oh yeah. Yeah. My dad fucking sent an email to my older sister, who has never done. I always say fucked up shit to my dad. She never does. And he said something to her about, you know, I forgive you. And I was like, you motherfucker, you piece of shit. I will cram your fake fucking forgiveness down your fucking throat. She didn't ask to be forgiven because she hasn't done anything wrong. And like, don't you put that fucking shame on my sister. Yeah. Don't try and sow that, you know. Ugh! I get like Yosemite Sam angry, like tarnation, talking about my dad.
It's incredibly manipulative to say that you forgive someone, especially when you're in a position, you know, where you're the person who's created trauma. You know, that's what people do in order to gaslight other people into going like, well, you know, I mean, even my own mom would do that shit to me. And, you know, I would talk about, she would ask me, what do you resent growing up besides the abuse? And I'm like, besides the abuse, the fact that, I mean, what am I supposed to resent? The fact that you like didn't let me fucking blossom as a person, that anytime that, you know, I tried to grow, I go, you know, this is a two-way street. It wasn't just my dad that abused me. It's your own ignoring that abuse that was just as abusive as getting, you know, hit. Was worse sometimes to see the person who had power to stop it just go, well, I'm comfortable. You know, it wasn't that she didn't stop it because she was scared of my father. She didn't stop it because she was comfortable. And if I stop it, then I'm going to be uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And she would say things like, you know, we'd have these conversations and she'd go, well, I know you feel like that, you know, and I'm sorry, but I want you to know that I forgive you for feeling that way about me, because I know that to me, I'm like, you didn't hear a thing I said, you know, you just gaslit me into believing that, because cycle abuse just continues unless you take responsibility for it. And, you know, abusers have the heart, like, you know, how much easier it would be if someone who hit you or was shitty to you, psychologically abused you, sexually abused you, if they had that real awakening where they were like, man, I'm a real fucking terrible person. You know how much easier it would be if they said, you know what? I do not forgive myself. I don't forgive myself for what I did. I don't. And leave it at that, because then it leaves it leaves us to go, oh, okay, well, good. Then now we can reconcile a little bit. Because if you understand that what you did is unforgivable, then we can move forward a little bit, because it means you have some humility. But forgiveness is like, I don't know. I'm all about cleaning my side of the street.
Yeah.
I'm always about that. But that's not forgiving. That's just me going like, I'm taking care of me, and I will. I don't know if you've seen Black Mirror, but that episode where you're just able to block people out of your life, like they can't even see you anymore.
Oh, I love it.
I do that. I've been doing that for years. You know,
also, I feel like that's what my shows are like, where it's just like I've alienated so many fucking people over the years. They're like, fuck this guy, unfollow, you know?
That's exactly it. You know, I always wished, like, you know, my biological dad wasn't so much abusive as he just was not a person. He just wasn't a good person. Like my stepfather, I knew. I spent most of my life, my early adult life, with him. And he was a terrible person. You know, he was not a good, and he was also a victim of abuse, right? And didn't know how to, so everything project outward. My dad, on the other hand, my actual dad, I didn't meet him till I was 17, because he spent most of my childhood in and out of prison, you know, and he was just a weird, selfish drug addict who, you know, worked in, had, you know, was adjacent to the mob, you know, but and, you know, like to had a pinky ring, and, you know, had a history of violence, and but also was just so selfish that, you know, his self-defense mechanism was never letting anybody in, and that way no one could ever judge him for anything, and then he wouldn't have to feel bad about the way that he lived his life, which I could fault him for, but it's a fucking great mechanism, you know? Like, it's a really great mechanism. If you are a terrible person, you know what? Just fucking build your walls real high and don't let anybody in. And then you don't have to worry about it. Like, my dad never outwardly set out to like hurt his family. He was just like, well, I'm going to steamroll and do my life. And if somebody gets in the way, sorry, you know, I don't feel anything. And that, to me, is, I think, as much as I didn't love him, that's far more respectable than like lashing out at everyone when you're a little drunk because your dad, you know, was shitty to you, or your mom was shitty to you. And I think it's hard. All trauma is hard to process, but I think you get to a point in your life where, you know, I am so much better just like never, ever letting those people into my life. You know, my stepdad's tried to contact me. His kids have tried to contact me. I just ignore, because I want them to, you know, that's nothing I say is going to fix it. And nothing that they say to me, I know is going to be genuine. It's all about I'm going to die soon. So I better say you know, fix this for God, or whatever they believe is going to happen.
Well, you got right to the point that I was, you know, about to make, which is that forgiveness to me feels like a Christian or a Catholic scam, you know, that like you can do all the horrible shit you want, and then just on your deathbed be like, sorry, I confess my sins before God. That is some bullshit right there, you know, and that's was one of the things when I got sober, people were like, you need to forgive yourself. And I'm like, why? Like it's up to the shit that I did that hurt other people. It's up to them to forgive me or not. They don't need to. There's no requirement for them to forgive me.
Right.
It's my job to not forgive myself for that, and instead to remember that human nature is that we're all sort of innately selfish and self-protecting organisms, and that every human being is capable of cruelty, of great violence, of manipulation, of deception, that I have those things in me, and that I'll always carry them with me, and that I need to keep an eye on them. And if I sort of just forgive myself or say like, oh, it was the drink that did it. It was the drugs that, no, I fucking did it, man. Yeah, I mean, it was me. And drugs and alcohol absolutely played a role in breaking down those walls and letting the sort of like less desirable parts of who I am out. But I've done plenty of bad shit sober too.
Yeah. I holy shit. Alcohol just intensified how like the shitty things I did, but it didn't like change anything. I had to do a deep dive on my personality. Like I was already shitty before I started drinking. And then I was like, oh, this makes it so much easier. And it's a great scapegoat.
Let's try and lighten things up here a little bit and go right into the drink, the drugs, and addiction and despair.
Let's lighten it up a little bit. Let's take it.
What do you identify as an alcoholic or an addict, or did you just quit?
No, I do identify as an alcoholic and an addict. I did quit drinking, and it's something I won't go back to it. It's not an attractant. The alcohol was definitely a symptom of a lot of larger problems. And I didn't start drinking till I was 31. And I did it pretty fast. Like
Derek, you missed the best years of your life.
Oh, I lived it all sober and straight edge, except I smoked. So I guess I wasn't straight edge. But I mean, I smoked, I chain smoked cigarettes, but I didn't do any drugs, didn't smoke pot.
Wow.
Didn't drink.
I think I quit when I was 32 when I quit, but I started when I was 13.
Oh, I mean, we had stuff when I was a kid, but I didn't get too deep into it. And all the kids I grew up with, they got fucked up real fast. And all of them they all ended up going to treatment by the time they were 15. So all my peer group was mostly recovering addicts, like young addicts. So I would just go to meetings with them. Like I'm 15 years old going to NA and AA meetings to support my friends. And because I'm like, well, that's my peer group. And I just stayed sober the whole time. And then when I was 31, I was like, I'm fucking going to Vito's and I'm going to have a cocktail. I'm going to see what this is like. And it was like, I don't know if you ever remember the episode of Taxi where they visited, they did a flashback to Jim Ignatowski when he was in college. And he was an honors student who wore like ties and sweater vests and did everybody's homework for them. And it was a tutor. And then someone gave him a bite of a pot brownie and he instantly became Jim Ignatowski. Like he just like within minutes was like, oh, yeah. And that was his life. And that's kind of what happened when I took my real first drink as an adult. I mean, the next night I was out at that bar right after I got off work and I closed it down and then I didn't leave for, almost 20 years. Well, no, almost 16 years. I quit. It's been 5 years now since I quit. But
in my late 20s, I remember a friend coming to me in sort of a moment of crisis and being like, man, I really, we were at a bar and he was like, I really think that I have a drinking problem. And I looked at him and I was like, yeah, like, yes. And what do you need me to buy you another one? Like, what's the, I'm a fucking alcoholic. I know that I've been living with that for 10 years, that like, do you want a hug? I just, it was out of my lexicon or just my vocabulary to even comprehend that he was sort of starting to shake hands with addiction then. because I'd been living with it for such a long time, and it was just like, yeah, this is how you get by. Like you wake up in the morning, you throw up, and then you pee and you take a shit, and then you go to work.
And you bring a little NyQuil in your lunchbox like I used to, or keep something in the car for breaks. But I smoked, and that was also my addiction. And I chain smoked. I mean, I just have an addictive personality, and so
dude, I miss cigarettes so bad.
I got lucky, man. I don't know what happened, but I was a 5-pack a day smoker.
Holy shit, dude!
I started when I was 14. I started smoking. I started when I was 14 at a pack a day, right out of the gate, because my parents both chain smoked, and so as soon as I started, I was like, when they got divorced, I had like this weird rage issue, man, and I thought it's all about the divorce and my dad being separated and me filling in this role, and upon reflection, what was really happening was I was going through extreme nicotine withdrawals because I was around smoke the entire time. And the minute I was removed from the situation, I started getting full of rage fast. I had short temper. I didn't know how to talk to people. I fucking got jittery. I had trouble sleeping. And it's because I was going through nicotine withdrawal. So I started smoking just because I was like, well, I didn't think about it then. I was like, I need a cigarette. I'm going to smoke a cigarette. I'm going to be a bad boy. But my body needed it. And then I was downhill. By the time I was 20, I was at 5 packs a day easily. I slept an hour a night. I'd get up and just smoke and then go back to sleep for 20 minutes, get up and smoke again, go back to sleep, smoked in the shower, smoked on the shitter, smoked while I was cooking. My job allowed me to smoke indoors. And then when smoking was illegal indoors, I was taking 5-minute breaks and smoking 3 cigarettes at a time.
Wow. Just
to get enough nicotine in me to get through the next 20 minutes so I could get back out and have another cigarette. But like, I quit and I have no desire to ever go back. Like something in my brain chemistry, man, I don't know what it was, but my father-in-law thinks that I got to a place where I resented it so much, like I hated it so much that when I quit, I literally didn't have any withdrawal. I quit in one day. I threw my cigarettes out and I was like, I'm fucking done with this. I can't do this anymore. I hate it. I hate it so much. And then I didn't smoke. I didn't have I didn't have panic attacks. I didn't shake. I literally just went on with my life. And I was like, all right, well, we're done with that. My mind, I don't know how the fuck that worked, but it's the same thing with booze. I stopped. I had a really bad incident with Johnny Taylor, and that dude saved my ass from getting my face pounded in. And I woke up the next day and I was like, I hate this. I hate the drinking. I hate that I was drinking from the moment I got up to the moment I went to bed. I resented it. And that was it. I was like, I don't do that anymore. But I don't know how it works, but I can be around people who drink and I just don't even have a desire. I just, my brain, maybe it's aversion therapy of some sort where I just remember how I used to feel and it wasn't good.
Yeah. I mean, I rarely miss drinking. I miss smoking, I think, because I was sort of like the, drinking one wine cooler version of smoker. I had whooping cough when I was a baby. So I have week long.
Oh shit.
But yeah, with Derek, I was the sickly baby. That's so I did. Imagine what I would have looked like without that whooping cough. No,
I just remember the inoculation was they lined us all up to inoculate us from whooping cough, and it was most of my friends still have a big fucking circle on their arm from that shot, but I got it because C-3PO and R2-D2 told me to get it. There was a big commercial campaign where they were both like, "Oh, whooping cough, you got to get inoculated," and I was like, "Well, if they say so." And I told my mom, I got to get inoculated.
My trusted medical advisor, C-3PO.
One of the few selfless things Lucas ever did.
Well, better than Dr. Oz anyway.
Yeah.
So I miss smoking because, it was sort of just the tip of, I think, addiction there. Or for me, it was like, much more sort of a mental thing. But when people always say, I'm sorry, I'm drinking around you, like, does it bother you? And it's like it doesn't doesn't tempt me. I have no desire to have a fucking rum and Coke or whatever, Jim
Right.
Beam, whatever dog shit you're fucking drinking. It's annoying because you fucking have told me you love me 3 times in the last hour, and that's 3 times too many, and it's only 10 o'clock, you know. And it's like it doesn't. I don't fear that I'm going to drink. You're fucking annoying, and you listen to terrible music when you drink, and you like sports, and all these horrible things happen, but none of it is me wanting to join you in any of that. You just plummet in my esteem for you just tanks. That's all.
I can't keep up when I drink, when I'm out with people who drink, and being a non-drinker, it only annoys me just how fast I can't like be in the conversation, how quickly I just am removed from the group because I'm like, you're all fucking baby brains at this point. You know, you're all just wet brain making no sense. And anytime I say something, people look at me like a dog with peanut butter in their mouth, like, huh, what? And I fucking hate it. And I try to, like, my wife will go out for drinks and I'm like, I'll get high before we go. That doesn't help. Now I'm just more cerebral about things, and I get lost even faster because they're getting drunk and I'm going like, man, do you ever think, like, what if a black hole's dad, like what if a black hole had parents? Have you ever thought about that? Like, maybe, and they're like, what's going on, man? Stop, the game's on. You're ruining my buzz.
If a black hole falls into a black hole, does it undo the other one? Does it?
Oh, I didn't even think about that. Yeah, I got a nosebleed. I'm just, but I
do need to say, like, dear listener, if you're listening at home and you drink and you're drunk, please know that I hated you when I was a drunk too. That this isn't some self-righteous sober thing. Even when I was a pants shitting alcoholic, I thought that other drunks were fucking pathetic.
I couldn't drink with people. I couldn't drink with people. And
why would you ever drink with people? The best thing about alcohol is you make your own company.
Yeah.
It removes the need for there to be another person around you.
What changed
that's
my
why I was
life,
so good at it.
What changed my life was the fucking cell phone. Like, I could just go out to a bar with my cell phone and just get hammered and be on the internet and be by myself. And I didn't need to have anybody else around me. I'm like, I can fucking read a story. I can do some social media. I can look at pictures from people in high school. I don't have to fucking be with anybody else. Before that, I would just sit at a bar by myself and look at people and try to figure out reasons why I don't like them. And then my phone kind of saved me because I'm like, oh, I don't need an excuse. I can just be on my phone and I can get hammered and no one will care.
I imagine myself to be, or I conceptualize myself as, like, a misanthrope and a loner and all that stuff. But one of the things that I have learned through the last couple of years of isolation is that I'm wrong. That I do need people, and I do love people. They annoy me quickly and forever, but also I am a social person. The show we had here this weekend, fucking 2 days ago. What day is it? What year is it?
My brain. It's wet.
It's Friday today. It was Wednesday. We had Brandy Posey, Anna Valenzuela, and John Michael Bond here, along with a couple of sort of local killers. And my face hurts from laughing. And I didn't know any of them. Like, just 3 total strangers came to my house. And then that's the magic of getting together and hanging out and fucking doing a thing together as a group, and also the magic of comedy. People get up there and talk about their fucking trauma and how their grandmother was a whore or whatever the fuck, and then by the end of the night, at the end of the night, we were I was taking a family picture with 3 people who had been strangers, less than 24 hours before, and it felt totally natural. Like, here we are, all of us together, and
all 3 of them stone cold killers, by the way. Super, the nicest people and so fucking funny.
Shit. I knew Brandy's name, and I did a recovery podcast with Anna. But I had no fucking idea that I was booking like 3 headliners that were just going to be like, here's another home run. Here's another home run. Yeah, it was one of those things where like it's just, have you ever, I mean, you're a cook and you're a food fan, that when you have a meal where like everything is sort of prepared to perfection, and then it just keeps coming and coming and coming, and you're like, this is amazing, that was perfect, I love this, this is excellent, fuck, I can't, I'm gonna keep eating them, but stop bringing them out, you know, that it's just
I love that feeling, and it's when it happens in comedy, it's even better because there's something about what we do that is very weirdly competitive sometimes.
Yep.
And it's very easy for us to get in our own heads. And when you're just that, when you're laughing, when you're completely disarmed, and there's people around you who are just genuinely funny, I forget that we're doing stand-up. And I just feel like, oh, we're like, I can't wait to like, I'm happy that and the endorphin rush is so real. And it's welcome, because most of the time you spend either going like, when am I going on stage and when am I leaving?
Yeah.
Like, I'm waiting to go up. I gotta listen to this piece of shit. I hate this. It's cold in here. Everybody's drinking. I just want to go do my fucking time and get out. And when I experience something like that, I remember immediately the joy that comedy brings me. I forget it, like I've forgotten sometimes, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
And when it's genuinely, I mean, with Brandy and John Michael, especially, like those are comics that when I get to hang out or see them do stand up, I will literally forget everything else I'm doing and just go watch, you know? And those are people I like to I will actually watch the whole set and let myself go and get rid of all my cynicism, which is calcified in me. So it's very hard to let go sometimes, but I love those moments. And it again, it's what I missed from comedy when we were in lockdown, is this stupid Zoom shows, you know, which I didn't want to do, because I comedy for me is tactile. You know, I have to see people and I have to hear people and be in the moment. And
it's so easy for us to lose, to forget about the magic, or for the magic to be obscured. If you're on fucking Twitter, if you're on social media, and you're all these people, the fucking Legion of Skanks and Joe Rogan and all the sort of like comedy edgelord, I'm going to speak the truth and that will make you show me your vagina. And also the check drop and 2 drink minimum and all the you know, the acolytes of these sort of famous comedy figureheads, and Bill Hicks and all this bullshit. And then when you just have a moment where one person is talking and the other people are listening, and you can hear them listening, whether you're the person talking or you're one of the people listening, just communicating in that thing, that like invisible strand of spider's thread, you know, that connects us as human beings. It is fucking magic, dude. And it makes it makes the other 23 hours, all the fucking bullshit, all the promo and glad handing, and it makes it all fucking worth it.
And I'll say also, you know, it's nice to have like a week like that before we go into a weekend where have to suffer through my stand-up for 4 days straight, and are just like, holy fuck, where did those guys go? What are they doing right now? And old sad boy McGillicuddy just fucking like just doing, you know, a straight half hour of like just in the moment, like, hey, I've seen 7 dead bodies, but I've never had a threesome. And just the sad observations of a dying man.
This is like the moment in Batman where I tell you, I was born in darkness. Yeah, you think that's gonna bum me out, man? I have a half on for this. Like, like, tell me more. Just from this is the longest conversation you and I have ever had by a factor of 10. To just go seamlessly from, addiction and despair and trauma and abuse to, dick jokes and I can't wait to have you here. I can't fucking wait to feel bad together while we're
gonna have a
dates.
Terribly great time.
It's gonna be.
We're gonna have. Really, we are. I'm so looking forward to it, and I know we're just gonna have a lot of. I know we're gonna have great talks on the road. That's the thing I look forward to.
Yeah,
is the driving conversations, because that's partly what I love about being in a car with other comics. Is like that's the moment when you find out what kind of person you are. And also to discover someone new that you'll already like talking to and that you're already excited about. The nice thing is that the car is moving, so they can't leave. So, for a little bit, you just, you're trapped, and now your thoughts are made manifest on someone else. And it's a kind of magical power that, you just get the experience in your everyday life.
It's weird having toured for 20 years and evolved into a sort of specific subhuman that way. And then I was out in Ohio visiting my buddy Lou Poster, who's been on the podcast, and we would just sort of sit and talk. And I was like, oh my God. And we would do it sort of again and again, day after day. And I was like, holy Lou, this is like going on tour together, except without all the fucking miserable part of like the driving and the shows and all that fucking bullshit. Like we can just sit here and like just talk. And he was like, yeah, man, it's called visiting. Like welcome to being a human. Like you're figuring it out now.
That. I forget that. I'm not a networking person. I always shy away from that shit when I'm in groups, especially comedians or creatives. Like I'm the last person who will try to sell myself in a group. I'm always like just being the person who's got like, I'm like, well, I'm just going to talk and see if anybody wants to, be part of this conversation, or I'll say something just to kind of get a reaction because that's the person I am. And I don't know if that's great. Maybe, it kind of sounds like the guy who's like, I can only come when I shoot a hostage, but like, I don't know if that's the healthy way to think about it, but I can't. I like the genuine, the fellowship part of this more than I actually, the stage time thing is great because I try to create something different on stage every night, so I'm not stuck in a feedback loop.
Yeah.
But I talking to other creatives, I missed it for 3 years.
Yeah.
And although my wife is a creative, you live with someone, it's different. The energy's different. Yeah. And after a while, we're both like, yeah, we get it. You like to knit. Yeah, I get it. You like to play guitar. Can we just be quiet for a minute? But it's nice to be able to explore, other people's brains and be in their space for a little bit, because it takes me out of my stupid brain for a little while, which is nice. And and it makes me a listener and less selfless. And by the way, I'm talking too much. This is what I do.
Dude, you're the guest on the pod. This is exactly what you're supposed to do. I'm super grateful to you that we're doing this little run together, because this is one of the things that has sort of pulled me out of being like soft retired. And then now I have like a whole tour booked out to Ohio in December, some fucking killer shows with some awesome people, and then touring back. And also you and I have both unselfconsciously set the stage for us to have a completely horrible trip. We both relapsed the first night, fist fight, police are called. Is there anything that you want to plug? Obviously you have the upcoming show at my place. Do you have other stuff going on you want to plug?
Not really. I'm going to be in Boise at Lounge at the End of the Universe, the 15th of December for the weekend, and But I like, no, not really. I mean, even then, that's it. That's like, come to that if you're in Boise. But no, I'm excited about the week. We have those shows coming up. That's like, that's the nearest in my mind. And I forget everything else I have going on. This is a constant problem with me is my sister-in-law does all of my web stuff and my calendar. And she's constantly like, she'll be like, why did you just did this weekend at a club and we didn't put it on the website? And I'm like, yeah, I totally forgot. I did. Like, I need like a person, like an adult to like do that stuff for me, but it's never going to happen. So I like the most important things to me are the things that are like within like a week. Like, this thing coming up is the most important thing.
That's going to be the best dinner ever.
I remember it, but I think, I mean, I know we're going to have a good time, and I know that like, we won't like we're going to have amazing conversations, and then and we're going to play some music probably, I imagine.
Hell yeah. I'm going to throw all my guitars at you one after another. The
headstock first.
It's funny because comics love to talk about their stuff and promote. And I've done several podcasts with people where I was like, they're just waiting for them. The money shot is at the end of the podcast, do you have something to plug? And never once have I had somebody be like, nope, not really. This is it. That's the whole thing. That I came years ago. That was that was then.
That was it.
That was 2007. Come on.
I feel like who am I? If you like what you hear, go to. There's many places you can find me. Yes. And it's unfortunate for you that you'll also see the other aspects of my personality and hear my political beliefs. But music is like, I think that's going to be the thing that probably, moves me sideways out of stand-up, because I'm working on an album.
Oh, awesome.
Of actual, like, it's been years since I've actually had the freedom or the opportunity to like sit down and finally like get all this shit out of my head. And it feels like it's been pressing. Like it's been wanting to come out for years, but I just have like been, nope, I'm putting you on the back burner because I'm focused on stand-up and touring. And now my brain is like, we can do whatever we want. We're 52.
Yeah, exactly.
We're now on the other side of the slope. We're now sliding downhill into mortality. And so we got to put this shit out as soon as possible.
Yeah. We'll spin demos on one of the drives, because I have a bunch of new shit to play for you, and love to hear what you're working on. Derek, dude, thank you so much for doing the podcast. Thanks so much for coming out here. That we're doing these shows. Thanks
for having me. Thanks so much for putting this together too, and having me on the podcast. I never know what I talk too much because I'm overly caffeinated and inconfident. So those two things are a lethal combination for someone who lives a quiet life. Like, open me up. I won't stop. Oh,
well, thanks a ton for doing it, and I'll see you at the airport soon.
Yeah, I'll see you next week.
Awesome.
And I was going to bring my guitar. I'm probably not, because it's too big to carry on. And I figure you'll have some guitars.
I have like 50 guitars here, dude.
You've got more than enough.
Awesome. All right, I'll see you soon, brother.
I'll see you soon. Thanks, man.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye. Folks, thank you so much for listening. I know there's a million podcasts out there. We appreciate you spending your time with us. If you're digging the show, if you're enjoying it, if these conversations move you, make you laugh, annoy you, piss you off, please take a minute to rate, review, and subscribe on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcast. It helps us grow the show, and it helps other people find it. If you'd like to hear bonus episodes, song demos, just sort of ranting off the cuff conversations, all sorts of different bonus material, writing advice, personal blog posts and stuff like that, go to patreon.com/Mishka Shabali. We will be having monthly episodes up there with my mom and I answering questions from readers, and there's all kinds of good stuff there. Thank you so much for supporting.